Hey folks, this is Chad at Apsona. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about notes in Salesforce and how to access them in Apsona. Notes are a complex topic. They're related to files. And just as a foundational bit, we're going to start out by just kind of saying what they are and how to find them in general. So I'm on an account page right now. I'm in the related list, and I have a related list here of notes. If I were to create a note, clicking this new button, it's going to look like this. It's a little pop-up. It's got like rich text capabilities, and you can associate it with multiple records. We're just going to do a little demo note here, and I'll do demo note body, and I'm just going to hit done. Okay, so now we have two notes here related to this account. We also have some files. And if we scroll down, we're going to see a notes and attachments related list. Many of you may have this, many of you may not, and only have these two. Many of you will have all three. There's kind of a complicated history to how these have evolved in the Salesforce ecosystem over a while. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that. So in Salesforce Classic, before they moved to Lightning, there was notes and attachments. You could create an attachment, which is like a file or a note. They were pretty basic objects and they just related directly to the parent record. Now the data model is a lot more complex. Um, Files are called actually on the back end called content documents. I'm going to put a link in the description about a little video I just recorded about files just to kind of give you a little bit more information about this whole world. And then notes, I believe, on the back end are called content notes. And they neither of these directly relate to account or to an object, to a parent, even though it kind of looks like they do. They have a junction object in between them called a content document link. So what I'm going to do next is look at the architecture here. So content note is kind of our core object at play. There's a whole version structure. If you update a note, it doesn't just replace it. It kind of creates a new version and then references that new version, but you have the history if you need to go backwards in versions. And then content document link is the junction object that relates it to the actual related record. So these are all, different objects, and it gets really complicated when you try to do querying on them and filtering. And in Epsona, it's really hard as well because Epsona speaks to Salesforce via an API, via a SQL query. And when it does so, it gets back all these different objects and it displays them for you, but it can get confusing because there's a lot of objects involved. So this video hopefully will help clear up a little bit of that confusion as we move forward. So here we are back on our account and we have these two notes and we're going to try to reveal these in Apsona. I also have an opportunity here. If I go to related records, I have files, I have notes, and I probably have notes and attachments down here. You'll also see, let me just say this for the video. If we come down here, I see 4 records under notes and attachments, test 2, test, and then a couple ID titles. And I have the exact same things here. So what's going on with that? I think what's going on is that as people migrated from Classic to Lightning, they had a lot of records that were notes and attachments, kind of the classic version. But in Lightning, there's a pretty strong wall between this old object and the new object. They wanted people to still have access to the old object, but they didn't want people to be able to continue to create the old object of notes and attachments. So in Lightning, if you have this related list and you say, oh, I'm going to add a new record and you hit upload file, this is actually creating a Salesforce file, a true one of these guys. But it displays it here so that if you had old notes and attachments, you can kind of see everything together. If you were looking up here, you wouldn't see anything from the old architecture. You would only see the new file structure. Because this is a new org and it never had the classic notes and attachments as records, these look exactly the same. So hopefully you're not thoroughly confused yet. Let's keep cruising. But this is just what we're dealing with as Salesforce has evolved, but still has to hold on to the legacy stuff. It just is really hard to kind of sift through. Okay. Let's go to the object manager. So you might think, oh, I'm just going to kind of poke around and find these things. So we're in Salesforce. I'm going to look for notes. and I see nothing. I'm going to look for files, and I see nothing. I'm going to look for content something. Okay, we got content version. I don't know what assessment task content document is, but we don't see content document. So you can't even really get to these objects in Salesforce because of the complexity, and I'm sure other reasons that I just don't understand. In Apsona, you actually have more access, but that access can get a little confusing. So now we're going to kind of shift. Now that we've set some foundation, we're going to shift to actually, we're going to say one more thing. You might be watching this and like not seeing even the ability to add a notes related list. You might not see this object at all, even as a related list to a record. That might mean that you have not turned on enhanced notes or the new lightning notes. And there's a way to do that. So if you come to setup and you type in note, you're going to get to this note settings, and then you have to enable notes. And once you do so, you'll start to see these objects appear. So if this is not checked, you haven't created any Salesforce Lightning notes. You might have the notes and attachments related list, but you can't get to it because you're in Lightning. So here we go. Okay, so that's enabling. Now we're going to go to Apsona. Okay, I'm starting here at our configurations page. I'm not going to go too deep into configurations. I'll put a link in the description of Apsona configurations, kind of our documentation around them. But think of them as Salesforce profiles, but for Apsona. Whenever you log into Apsona, if you have admin privileges, you can go to settings, configurations, and that's how you get here. And your configuration will always have a star next to it, the one that is assigned to your profile. So I'm going to go into this just to kind of help explain a few things. And I'm going to type in note. Let's see what I get. So if you're new to this window, these are all the objects in Salesforce, but not necessarily the ones added to Apsona. These are the ones added to Apsona. And you can see I have two notes. I have note and attachment, and I have note attachment, Google Doc, and file. That's a lot of stuff. These two are the old classic objects. I think probably just avoid these altogether. Um, I am not sure what the duplicity here is. I'm not sure how they differ. It's hard to tell just by looking at this. If you hover over, I can see attached content note. This one just says note. And if I come over here, I do have one version of note already here. So you're actually going to see three of these. If I hover over this, I see content note. I am not going to claim to be an expert here. I display my ignorance humbly, but honestly. But what I have found through my testing is that this one seems to be the one that gets us our results. I pulled these in, I tried to do some reporting, and I couldn't get any records to show up. So I don't think that these are going to be helpful. So let's just go with that for now. Content note seems to be the successful object. And I think, yeah, that's the only kind of note related stuff that we get. We're not really talking about files in this video, but if I type in file, that's not helpful. Okay, over here, if I type in file, I'm pretty sure I've already added files. Oh, I'm sorry. In Apsona, I should know this. I train on this. Files, even in Salesforce on the back end, are called content documents. So if I start typing in content, I'm going to see content document link, which is that junction object that I reference right here that connects both files and notes to related records. So it's kind of the same junction object. And content version, which is that versioning I talked about. And if we type it in over here, I don't think I have anything left. Well, yeah, this is a lot of just random stuff, but I don't know that any of it is too necessary. So we're just going to let that be. All right. So if you want to get to notes in Apsona, you do need to pull in this content note object. All right. I'm not going to keep going through this. This is just more configuration stuff. I just wanted to kind of display the complexity of how to get it even revealed. So now that I have notes in here, if I could put it on my main list of tabs, otherwise it's going to be in my more menu. So if I type in note, I'm going to get to it. So let's just go to a report and let's see if we can get something going here. So test. And here's the note object. I can see, let's just pull note ID as a really easy starting point because every note should have an ID. If you're familiar with Apsona reporting, you'll know that you get access to any object that's a parent to your target object that you're starting from, and any object that's a child to your target object. Child records are indicated by a small star next to them, and parents are indicated by no star. So we do have a content version object that's being looked up to from this note. So this is a parent here. Um, but you'll note that in my note object, I don't have any lookup field to like a record, account, opportunity. Like there's no actual lookup field. And I don't even know if, well, I know that there's some stronger connections in content version, but content version isn't even the thing that directly connects to related records. It's document link. And you'll see that there is no document link here. So with notes, it's a little confusing as to how do you reveal these as related to other records. But for now, what we're going to just try to do is just show some records. So I've got note ID. I'm going to do 0 filters. Very simple. Let's see if we can get something. And I think we're going to hit, oh, we did get something. Okay, so we got some ID. So that's good. Let's go back into edit. Let's pull a couple more fields on here. Let's do title. Text preview, I believe, is like the body. But if I type in body, like the body of an email, oh, content body, let's see. Oh, I think that's going to have some gobbledygook. Let's run this and see. Okay, so this looks like a record ID. I'll bust this into a window and see if I can find out what it is here. Actually, yeah, I'll do that. And let me just throw the URL in here, see where it brings us. Okay, I'm not sure what that's going to, but it's not really relevant for this. Let's go back. Pardon my spinning circle here. Getting some bandwidth issues, it seems. Okay, so we are seeing our text preview. We're seeing a title, and we're seeing an ID. That is great. So the record that it's related to, so I can't put in like the account name, the opportunity name. I just don't have access to that in this report structure because all I have are the fields on the note that I mentioned here. Get rid of this, and we could just kind of scroll down. Let me add a couple more fields here. Content, we had content body. I'm gonna throw file type up there and just see what it looks like. Text preview title. Okay, let's run this again, although I'm gonna pull out content body because that was just that ID field. Save and run that. And we're getting an error. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about that because it's not super crucial. Point is, you can't quite get to the parent object from a report on notes. So now we're going to talk about alternate ways to get that relationship between a note and a parent. This is a report on the content document object. So as I mentioned, for files, the main object is content document. And here in this ERD, we see content note. But if I go to this report, content document is the object. I have access to content document link here. This is the child that links it to the parent. And the lookup field that connects it to that parent is this linked entity. I have this on the report already. And I think I have no filters. So I save and run this. I get a bunch of records. Let me just order by created date to show the test that I did today. And you'll see that I have notes here. So even though this is on content document, it is ultimately the same object. It's just kind of labeled differently on this ERD for some reason. It is the same object as notes, and it's showing us the title. And now right here, this Barry Saunders Burlington, that is the opportunity that this note, oops, this note is connected to. So test op note title is the same as this one, test op note title. It's even weirder because there's 2 rows. This is going to a user because it always links back to the user that created the record, and this is going to the actual record. And that's just how these are structured. So for example, if I well, I'm not gonna, I don't have a way to show that relationship, I don't think. If I open this up, it just opens it up in the little editor, if I remember correctly. Let's see, yeah. I can't quite see that it's related to my user, but it is through a uh, content document link. So there's two content document link records, one content note or document record, and they're all revealed here. And you can see this is the same content document ID. And then here's the other one that's related to the note. So here's the account name, and here's the user, and here's the content document ID. So this is starting to get into the realm of like, okay, I'm starting to get the actual record with its relationship. Let's click edit and see, can we get anything further? If I were to, like, I can't get to the account ID because I'm only revealing the linked entity here. This is the lookup field, but I can't go through that lookup field into the object itself and grab data. So I can't get the account name or the opportunity name or the close date or anything like that. But we're getting closer. Now we're going to do one more version. I am going to, I think, do it from opportunity. So I'm going to go to an opportunity report. And I am going to do a new report. I am going to filter this because I want to focus on my test record. So I'm going to say opportunity name starts with Barry Saunders. That should get us to just that op unless there's other ones. Okay. Now I'm going to pull in the opportunity name just so we could see that that is the record. And if we scroll down here, we can see, these are parent records. As I mentioned, they have no star, so this is the parent account. These are child records of various types. Here's the old-fashioned attachment. We're going to avoid that one. Keep going, keep going. Basically, where we're going to get to is right here, note. If I click on note, this is considered a child object. Let's see what we have in here. We have content document ID. Actually, that's a lookup field to the content document. So that is a little confusing, although I'm about to explain something that might make it less confusing. We're going to do note ID. Let's do text preview and title. That's probably good. Okay. So the explanation I'm going to offer is not very great, but because these objects are so complex with all these different relationships and they're so invisible in Salesforce, Apsona's kind of shortcut is to kind of create I think it's almost like a placeholder in order to more easily get to these records from the parent. So, as I showed, we're in an opportunity report and we do have this note object. Note is not technically a direct child to opportunity because of this content document link, but Apsona has provided us a shortcut to say, okay, I know that really what you want is these notes, and so here it is. And I can't explain much further than that. It's kind of our development team's realm. But let's run this, and hopefully we're going to get our our opportunity and our note. Okay, so these are all different opportunities that all started with Barry Saunders, so that's why there's more. But our test record does have this. So here we go. We've got our note ID, text preview. Let's see what this content document says. Okay, that I guess is like the title, although this is the title too. And here's our text preview. Whoop, I accidentally reordered. So now I'm going to try to filter this so that I only get one of these, and we're going to hit an error, but I'm just going to show it on the video. So let's go back to edit. Let's say, hey, I really just want to see opportunities if they have a note. That's a very common use case. So now I'm going to go, this is kind of an Epona trick that normally works, but it's not here. There's a trick in Epona where you can say, I want to only show an opportunity if a particular child record exists. So the way you do that is you go to the child record, you go to the ID field. Whoops, got to do it in filter terms. Let's get rid of that. And we go opportunity, note, ID, and you say exists. So this is a cool Epsona trick. It normally works to, like, for if you said, I only want to show accounts if they have contacts. You would say contact ID exists, and that just means if there's any contact ID at all underneath this account, then show it. That's what we're doing here for notes, but I believe that this is going to cause an error. There we go. Entity type attached content note does not support query. Okay, so there are a lot of query limits on these objects that are a little bit beyond my understanding, but I've hit these errors a lot. So it's not a straightforward thing. And I think what this is about, I'm not 100%, but I believe what this means is like, hey, there is no direct relationship between notes and opportunities. What are you even talking about? Because of this content document link insertion. But because Apsona is trying to get around it and show these child records, it's attempting, but it doesn't work. We can't query on it. So there's a limitation there. If I if I go the other way, I'm basically at the end of my content, but I'm just going to kind of keep talking a little bit in case this is helpful for folks. If we get back to our notes object, is that what this is? Notes, and we edit this. I think this was the one that I was getting errors on. Let's just double check here. Yeah, I'm going to pause really quick and try to reorient myself just a sec. Okay, by removing a couple of those fields that were problematic, we're in good shape. So I'm at the notes object and I'm getting notes, but I cannot filter to say only show me notes that are connected to opportunities or to accounts. So I'm kind of like hitting a query limit here. And at this point, I don't have a great way around it. We're getting records. I just can't filter it further. And on this side, we are getting records. This was this was going from the content document level. So let's see if we can do some filtering here. Let's say like let's try to filter on the linked entity, see if we can get anything. So I'm going to say document link, linked entity is among. Let's try that. Let's try our opportunity. So Barry, and I think the answer is going to be no. Yeah. So even more in the weeds is that out of the box, we only have access to account fields here through this linked entity. And I think it's just because Apsona can't naturally unearth every single object relationship. And so it defaults to account. So we can't filter through that lookup field. If we come to content document itself, there's not really much that would, let's see what, I'm going to try to pull parent in on the report just to see what this is. See if this will give us an error. We'll get rid of that. Okay, and parent is empty, so I think that is not a helpful field. And if I continue to look here, I can't really see any other easy way to filter on what object it's related to. So that might be all I have to show. I know this is a bit of a rambling one, but you can see how complicated it is. So I think some of the things that I just want to highlight is it is possible to get to notes. You got to find the right version of that note object. You can also reveal them via the content document object. You can also reveal them from the parent. You just can't filter much on it. So for example, if I go back to accounts, I already did this for opportunities and now I'll do it for this accounts. I have account name and then I have the note fields here, title from note, text preview, note ID. So I can run this and I can see accounts and I can see notes related, but I can't filter this report to just show me accounts with notes, just like with opportunities. So I think that's it. I am going to highlight there is a Trailhead article that I didn't really read too closely, but it looked pretty good as just an introduction to notes and files and how to kind of like understand Classic versus Lightning. And I think there's some notes on how to enable things and set them up. So I'll also put this link in the description. All right. Thanks for sticking with me if you lasted all the way through. Hopefully this was helpful for you. All right. Bye-bye.